Warren Burgess, an operations manager for a big oil company, made an astounding 615% return on a single crypto investment. In addition to building a solid crypto portfolio that is currently sitting around 80 to 100% in unrealized profits, Warren has also been averaging 2% profit consistently per month with stocks.
Well, let's say for this year, I'm up 50,000 on what we've invested this year at 2% a month.
So stay tuned to discover the strategy he uses, how it works, and what you can do to achieve these life-changing results, starting as a complete beginner. So Warren, how did you first get started? What interested you in learning how to trade and invest?
Well, I was always interested in managing my own money and trying to get a good return from it. However, what I had been doing was a momentum strategy on funds within my ISAs. And anyway, I thought we must be able to do better than this. And
Why? What were you making?
What was I making? Well, my target was 1% a month.
Okay.
Which I would have been happy with, but certainly
Sure.
From about 2018 through to last year, it was I had some years with losses and some years close to zero. It just wasn't cutting it, and managing funds, okay, was managing them better than just putting them in a fund and walking away and leaving them, active management. But even still, it was like trading with your hands behind your back, because you could only place, you could place an order and it would go in that day, but you still had no idea what price it was going to enter at. And the same in exiting. And you're kind of at the mercy of what the fund manager decides to set the price on that day.
So basically, you just wanted to change the results, did you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I was managing properties, our rental properties, and looking at your property network, and your face appeared in an ad in them. So
Brilliant. And you thought, let me have a look at this. Let me have a look.
yeah.
And is it mainly stocks or cryptos that you do?
Well, at that time it was stocks, and it still is mainly stocks. So I started into cryptos about halfway through my time with you, yeah, that's been a journey on its own.
I'm sure.
Cryptos.
So I mean, we teach various strategies here at Investment Mastery. So which ones do you use the most?
VCA, CCA, contrarian momentum. They're all a variation on the same theme.
Yeah.
And that's so yeah, I'm most at home using those, and provided I make good choices on what I'm investing in.
So Warren, before you found success with investing, what was your financial situation like?
I would say reasonably comfortable. So I had been investing with ISAs, investing in funds, broad-based funds, and managing those actively. And then I finished up with a salaried job and had a pension from there, and also invested at the time when I retired from full-time employment. I invested in some properties. I have a small rentals business. So yes, you could say, well, why bother doing anything else? And yeah, the answer to that is, who knows what the future is going to bring. And if you don't do anything with what you've got, it'll dwindle away.
Absolutely, especially with inflation.
Yes.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And also, so which strategies did you use the most? And how much did you start off with? And how much did you end up with?
Right. Well, I guess there was so I've been using VCA strategy the most, and then with cryptos using the similar strategy CCA and crypto cost averaging and small cap again, another adaptation. So with the VCAs, use that in my ISA accounts, so my family's ISA accounts, and
Tax-free.
uh, it's been a gradual ramp up. So I didn't start with everything, and I needed to
Right.
learn, and so, but it did ramp up reasonably quickly, and well, let's say for this year, I'm up 50,000 on what we've invested this year at 2% a month.
Very good. And is that stocks, or did that include cryptos as well?
It it included a little bit of cryptos, but cryptos really haven't come into play yet. We're just waiting for the bull market to play
Yeah.
up a bit more, a good deal more. So I haven't realized much profit from cryptos.
And did you say, I remember we were talking before during lunch that you're doing your own accounts, but you're also doing families as well. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So myself, my wife's, and my son's ISAs.
Why are you doing this? How old is your son?
He's old enough to do it, but he's
Yeah,
busy. He is busy studying to be an accountant at the moment, and his head is full in that space.
I bet. I
He
bet.
does see what I'm doing, and he's saying, "Yes, I've got to get my head around this and get in there." So
Oh, well, we look welcome to welcoming him at one day, teaching
yes,
him as well.
yes. Well, if you're looking for an accountant in due course, he'll be qualified as one.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what have your results been? Because I'm sure everybody wants to know.
when I started first a few years ago, it was uh, uh, got some good wins, and that was really encouraging. I thought, oh, I've got this cracked. And yeah, unfortunately, then a few losses cropped up, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe I haven't got it cracked, and need to work at this a bit harder and um, really get into it more. And I'm not one to let something lie, and if I've made a mistake, I need to resolve it and make up for it. Uh, so yeah, last year turned in quite a good profit. I had one. I knew I was going to get a loss with a stock I was holding, and that was a big one. But even still, I made a profit last year, including that. Without it, I made about 15% profit for the year.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So this year, I am consistently now making 2% a month.
Oh, you wanted to make 1% a month. You're making 2%. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think it's going to continue, or do you think you might get better?
Uh, I'll certainly get better when I start selling off my cryptos at higher prices. At the
Yeah.
moment, I've only just started selling a little bit of crypto of my crypto portfolio. Um,
I wouldn't sell too
so
much right now. We're at the beginning of
no,
the bull market. I would be a little bit patient
I
on
am. I am.
yeah.
I've heard what you were doing, and I thought, yeah.
Mm.
And so yes, hold on and be patient, and but yes, you'd still need to milk the cow a little bit
Are you going
and
to move for us?
moo. Indeed,
Is
yes.
that must
I,
have been a Scottish cow because I
I
don't really recognize that as a moo.
Highland
But
coo, as they call them up here.
do you have any good tips for managing like multiple trading strategies? Because if you're doing three of them,
Yeah, well, I would say I'm investing using variations on a theme of BCA.
Sure.
And that is quite fine. But for trading, like Buffalo and Breakout and Slingshot, um, that is very different to the investing strategies with VCA and CCA and small cap. Yes, good if you succeed with it, but to succeed consistently is quite a challenge.
I
Um,
think the breakouts are working extremely well right now. So I think that's something you definitely need to look at.
and I had, well, I had been working on breakouts quite a bit, um, and uh, until I went off on holiday in March, and I haven't got back into it since. But
Okay.
uh, yeah, it does take a lot of time to assess a breakout
Hmm.
and to make sure you're following your rules and then to manage the trade. So it does take quite a lot of time.
Mm.
And um, so is it worth the effort? I, is a thought going through my head at the moment, and I
I
haven't
think it
done
depends on how much you have, right?
it. Indeed, but I'm not
Yeah.
putting a lot of my money there when I'm not making consistent uh,
Yes.
profits,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
not getting consistent wins.
Yeah. So
I
you're
am
more of an
trying to
investor,
buy.
would you say?
Pardon?
Would you
Yes,
say
more an investor.
you're
Yes.
more of an investor? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds
I
like
do
it.
like the contrarian momentum strategy, and
It's
actually,
kind of in between, isn't it? It's not
it is.
trading, it's not investing, it's kind of in between. It is good. It works really
Yes.
well and takes
And
advantage of the volatility.
yes, and actually, it's giving the highest return against what I've allocated to it. So,
For sure. Yeah.
and I
It's
have
quite quick.
increased that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Glad you found something that suits your personality. And I think that's really important as well, because some people love this, some people love that. So you've got to go towards what's you know, and make it your
Yes.
own, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about things like losing focus? Did you ever, it's easy to lose focus if you don't set clear goals. So would you
Yes.
have any views on that? Do you have goals? Are they clear? Are they written down?
Yes, I do have goals, and I don't look at them enough. But it was it's certainly helpful, and the more focused you can make the goal, the better. I think initially I had the goal of, look, I just want to get a better return from our funds, from what our savings. Otherwise, they're dwindling away, and what's happening with fiat money these days, it's all being devalued. So
That's right.
really need to work at it to be able to well, maintain our standard of living uh, for as long as we need to. Um, and I'm not confident that just letting things run on their own will achieve that. And pensions are being devalued as well. So even though I might start off with a good pension, which thankfully I have, uh, it's uh, it's been devalued year on year as well because it's not keeping pace with inflation.
That's true. I think most people don't really think about that. You know,
Mm,
it's one of
yeah,
those things that's it's like a stealth tax that
yeah, yeah,
nobody really
absolutely.
talks about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
over time, whoa, could wreak
yeah,
havoc with your pension.
absolutely. So I really do feel
Mm.
strongly that I've actually got to make good use of our savings and that then gives you options to do more with your life and not actually think to so it frees you to do more things. So for instance, um, a couple of years back, I had a goal of uh, providing a significant input to a big project that Sue had been managing, um, and to put 20,000 a year into that, 25,000 a year, and so 2 years, yeah, take that was good. Got that in, and then unfortunately. the project was wound up by the
Oh,
trustees. They didn't want to go forward with the risk, even though they had a huge the funding was over 50% there, and they
yeah.
just didn't have the nerve to go ahead with the project, a big project. Anyway, that money is now being redirected to other charitable
But
activities.
how amazing that you can do that. So you
Yeah,
literally put 50 grand into something.
yes,
Wonderful.
yes.
Yeah.
So this year needed a new goal, and we said one thing we learned on Sue's project was about passive house and improving the efficiency of thermal efficiency of buildings and reducing your energy usage by at least a factor of 10. And so we're actually going to do that with our house later this year. And the bill for that is high. Um, and I'm going to pay for it with the gains that I get this year within
That's
year.
fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. That's wonderful. It sounds though that you're spending all your gains on very great things, of course, charitable ventures, but also home improvements and stuff. Is that are you not keeping any aside to reinvest and make even more gains next year?
Oh yes, yes. Uh, and that's while watching what we have. So so yes, and certainly I have done that up to now.
Hmm.
This big project on our house will eat into capital quite a bit, but
Yes.
we'll still have enough. And by the end of the year, well, hopefully this crypto bull will have
Mm,
reared
yeah.
its head
Mm. Yeah, the
significantly.
next year, year and a half. What I'm getting, without mentioning any numbers, is that you're really investing with quite a sizable amount of money.
Yes.
You're not doing it on 2,000 or 20,000. You're really managing your money, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And it's taken a while to get to this point where I'm confident with the processes and uh, and managing. So I am managing not quite all, but very close to all uh, our portfolios using your strategies.
Yeah, wonderful. Um, so we talked about goals. What about developing the right mindset, which is so crucial? How did you have any mindset shifts or during your journey while you were learning?
Yes, indeed. Well, firstly, I mean it's overload on learning so much. And it's how do you manage that without passing out?
Passing out.
Yeah, well, and either passing out physically or just passing out from the whole program because there is so much to take on, and I can't do this. So,
Yeah, because it's new, isn't it? So anything that's
yeah,
new is just
yeah,
totally overwhelming.
yeah, and so yes, having a goal, any goal, really helps with that. And so initially, my goal, as I said, is just about generating better returns. But then, um, and the biggest challenges there were getting the mechanics sorted, getting set up with the right broker accounts and so on. And that got multiplied by at least an order of magnitude with cryptos.
Mhm.
And so yeah, uh, really establishing routines, a weekly routine to just get that time slot and right, I need to get this done.
Oh, give
Having,
us an example of that. What do you mean?
well, uh, identifying opportunities, the next opportunity to invest in um, takes time. Managing your existing positions and trades. So need to have a time slot to do that every day. So half an hour in the morning. Well, it's usually extended out to a bit longer than that, maybe an hour, hour and a half in the morning. Best done first thing, so before you're distracted with anything else. Um, and keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going till it
Yeah, it
works.
sounds so, what you're saying, so maybe obvious and whatever, but that's right. Just keep going. And then over time, this thing called compounding just suddenly starts taking hold, which is quite fantastic.
Yeah, well, compounding not only the money, but also the habit
Yes.
and building the habits. Just keep going until it becomes a routine.
Mm.
And yes, I could refine my routines a lot and focus in on my time management, which has never been too clever. Uh, so
It sounds like you're enjoying it. You know, when you say you're half an hour, which then turns into an hour or whatever, but it does sound like you enjoy it.
yes, yes, and like for instance, at the weekend this week, I don't often tie up my weekends with something, but I had uh, a real one of those things that eats away at you that I've got to sort this out, and that was on Coinly, my crypto tracker. I had to get my head around, well, how do you resolve some of the missing transactions?
Wow.
Yeah, the answer is simply you can add a manual transaction, but what is the right manual transaction to add? And when do you put it in? What sort of timing do you use? And uh, now that I've done that, so hooray, I achieved it. Um, yes, I won't need to take anywhere near as long to do that for the next one that crops up. Because yeah, these things have a habit of recurring.
I think I mean, most people, they believe that when something is hard or difficult, that it's always going to be hard and difficult. And so they give up.
Mm,
And what you said just now about just keep going and compounding your knowledge.
yeah,
And then you gave that example, which is so true because on the Coinly, um, now you know what to do.
yeah,
It's going to be simple next time.
yeah,
Um, and even more simple the time after, etc., and so forth. And unfortunately, people just don't get that. This whole thing about just not quitting. For some reason, it just isn't in everybody's psyche. Could you talk to that a little bit?
yeah. Well, yes, I guess when I was employed, we used to do these character assessments, and you, what color were you? Well, I can't remember what color I was, but I was a completer finisher. I wasn't the blue sky thinker, and
Okay.
yeah. Although I do come up with ideas from time to time, they're a bit harebrained, but the completer finisher in me, yes, I can't put down something until it's done, and that plays havoc with time management. But yeah, actually getting something done, and sometimes you have to get it done. Sometimes you can go 80% of the way, and that'll be fine.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, you keep going until you've got to a position where you need to be, and then um, benefit from that learning and be more efficient the next time.
Why do you think ongoing learning is so important for keeping the right mindset as an investor?
Yeah. Well, for a start, there's always more to learn.
Mm.
Um, and uh, situations evolve. So if you the trading strategies I've noticed they have been adapted over time, and there's how do you
Mhm.
respond to how do you apply them in a bull market compared to a bear market or vice versa.
Mhm.
And you do need to adjust your approach. When I learned the VCA first, that wasn't a consideration.
Yep.
And so then when the bear market started after COVID, I was investing away merrily and all the way down. Would have been a lot better just holding off and waiting for this to start turning up again.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, so now I'm holding a few stocks with quite a high break-even price. but I haven't sold them yet, so I haven't lost money on
I've been holding PayPal for what seems like ages. Are you holding that as well?
them. Yep.
Yeah.
One way of winning on it is to have another account, and I've actually done a fresh VCA with them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or just do trading. So
oh
buying,
yes,
selling,
yeah.
buying, selling. There's a third way where you can just sell options against it, but that's a totally different strategy. You
Mm.
hold it, you're going to have to go to another broker like Interactive Brokers, and then you sell a call option against it, which gives you premium. And that then lowers your average cost. The idea being that, in 2, 3 years, then, you can't lose anymore because your cost basis is at zero. So there are ways around it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you just got to
And,
know.
and and there you are. I mean, there's always something else to learn. And
Okay, there you go. I think we made the point. If you could share one top tip with our viewers, especially those who are just starting out, what would that be?
um, yeah, performance management and having your system in place to be able to see what you've done easily, efficiently. So log your trades religiously on your accountability workbook, or investments and trades tracker. Um, That'll
Why
give
is
you.
that? Why is that important?
It's important because you can see when you're winning and see when you're not winning, but learn from what your losses are showing you, and be boosted when you see a good performance. Uh, and it'll also help you to focus on if you need to focus on one strategy over another, which ones are giving you the best returns. You can see that easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you also put in why? Like because there's the tracking of the percentage gains, but do you also put in, why you went in? And then you
Uh,
look back and go, why did I go in there? Oh, that's why I went there. And then,
yeah, well, I have that with the when I captured the trading view screen grab of the purchases and the sales, and I have comments on written in on the. I type in the comments on those on the trading view screens when I'm making the trades.
hmm.
So they're there, and yes, uh, we can we can see if there's anything a significant learning point on a particular trade. I will note that in the tracker sheet. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add? Like some learning that you had that you want to share, or some epiphany, or something that you think would add value?
Um. Yes. Well, I guess the biggest thing that held me up on the journey was getting set up, as the whole onboarding with getting the right tools. Um, and yes, I recognize that we have to set up our own broker accounts, but I mean, really, with cryptos especially, is and in the UK with so many restrictions on trying to get money onto a crypto exchange, all in the so-called name of managing your security for you.
Hmm.
That whole onboarding process, getting to a point where you can actually do something. Um, uh, and then, so that's one aspect. The other aspect I think is in getting to walk before running. So going on the gold program was definitely a gear change for me. But I wouldn't have benefited as much from it if I hadn't had the soakage time beforehand, and on practicing with VCA and with Buffalo at that time, um, and now I'm sort of going on the next phases. So it does take time for this all to sink in. and it takes longer for some folk than others. Me, me
Sure.
being one. But yeah, having a good grounding. I don't know whether this, yeah, the best. Yeah, to get the best out of gold, I would say there's sort of a forerunner period that needs to happen, and but gold is definitely is a gear change on and is worth every penny. So you get your money back with your if you follow everything that you're taught in gold.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, there you have it. Warren's incredible journey to making consistent returns with both stocks and cryptos. So, what's the biggest takeaway from this interview? Share your thoughts below.